form letter attached that she wants all of our signatures. Okay. She must have got married. Emily Hollis. She just got married. Her last name's changed.
Who?
Emily. Peter French's. She used to be
I remember the name.
Emily Hollis.
Yeah. She was making?
Well, originally, but then she went with the Mally's administration, I think.
Yeah. Yes.
And now she's Peter French, who does everything for us.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I got this email from Emily, and I blew it off. She didn't mean anything to me.
I just saw it too.
Okay, good morning. Would we all please stand for an invocation provided by Commissioner Barr, and then we'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Bowing in attitude of prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for the opportunity to serve others. Lord, guide us and direct us. Use us for thy service. May we honor and glorify you in the things we do and say. We pray in thy name. Amen.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Excuse me. I'd like to call the Washington County Board of County Commissioners February 13th, 2018 meeting to order. With that, I'd like to see if the commissioners have any reports or comments, starting with Commissioner Kiefer.
Yes, I have a few things here. On Sunday, I helped the University System of Maryland at Hagerstown with their annual scholarship fundraiser. And in the last 8 years, they tell me they've raised $450,000, which is a huge sum of money for scholarships at students attending any one of the universities that participate here in downtown Hagerstown. I was an early, I believe, the first-year recipient of that scholarship. I was a student at Burg in Hagerstown, and so I know how important that college is to Washington County and helping local people earn a college degree. And so I wanted to give back in a way and thank them several years later for that opportunity. Also, we had a citizen, Pat Schooley, come and speak with us last week or maybe 2 weeks ago about the stone bridge on Maryland 68 over Beaver Creek. And at yesterday's Historical Advisory Committee, of which Pat is a member, that was a topic of discussion. And I'm hoping that we as a group of commissioners might be willing to support a letter to whatever state agency that might need to go to, whether it's the Highway Department or even the governor or the General Assembly, to see, ask them to seriously consider keeping that bridge historical and what the cost would be to maintain the historical integrity of that bridge. I know there's some repairs that need to be made, but rather than tearing that down and starting over, what can we do to keep that bridge there? I think that's a huge draw and attraction here in Washington County. We have several of those stone bridges, and I'd hate to see one be torn down. If it doesn't have to, if it's cost effective, especially. Also, I was approached by one of our smaller municipalities, Clear Spring, about how the county might be able to help coordinate mowing services with the inmate crews. I know a few of the towns have been able to figure something out, and that was the topic that was brought up at an MML meeting maybe a year or so ago. But we have still a few communities that haven't been able to get something together. And I know the county has been working on maybe something with a few folks behind the scenes, but if we can make an announcement of what we're doing, how we're helping our smaller municipalities out with the inmate mowing crew, I believe we are going to help coordinate. Help me out, Rob.
So currently we have crews, prison crews that are very cost effective that do some help with the various towns. What we're looking at doing with this current budget season is adding one additional crew and having coordination with the towns, further support from the towns where they would actually pay that. It turns out to be, for a full crew, it turns out to be about $21 per hour. So it's incredibly cost effective.
And the municipalities will reimburse us?
Yes. Now, entirely 100% of the time, we can't guarantee full coverage or full disclosure to you, but we do think that there's other things like a program that we're we're going to be unveiling soon called Clean Streets, Clean Streams, where debris and rubbish that's picked up from one of the crews or multiple crews can be weighed, measured, and counted toward the bay cleanup project that Washington County is under our permit is required. So there's a number of different things going on that we feel that will support the additional crew. Very cost-effective program, and it seems to be a win-win situation, and the prison enjoys participating in it too. So.
Okay, good. If we could reach out to some of our municipalities that may not be aware of what we're trying to help them with, I think that would be good.
I'd like to report Jim Sterling, as early as this morning, has tried to reach out to the vast majority, and is trying to reach every one of them too. Yep.
Good. And one more thing, I was asked to share this with my fellow commissioners and maybe see if the county could help in some PR aspect. On March 27th is a What Can We Do, where local law enforcement officers, local educators, physicians will be meeting at the Elks Lodge in Hagerstown at 7 p.m. to talk about the opioid crisis. And there's a guest speaker, Ray Lozano, who will be speaking, who's a national speaker on the issues. It's a free event. There's no charge. And if we could help get the word out, I think that might be a good idea to talk about an issue that's plaguing not just our community, but towns across the country. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Myers?
Nothing for me today.
Commissioner Barr?
Yes, several things. Good morning to everyone. Of course, every week, Wednesday is the day in Annapolis with MACO. So, and as we get deeper into the 90-day session, the legislative committee at MACO is extremely busy reviewing a number of bills before both the House and the Senate, and monitoring those very closely. Many of them have tremendous impact upon even local issues here for us. I was also asked to chair a new committee at MACO, what's called the Endorsement Committee. As you may know or may remember, our MACO dues have been frozen for the last 8 or 9, 10 years, and much of MACO's income and operating expenses by partners in the business community. And so we're trying to reach out and look at other ways that can benefit both mutually MACO and many of the supporting businesses and organizations, and those that participate in the summer and winter conference. They set up free seminars and do various things to help all of us. I know most of us have participated in many of those outreach programs. So there'll be a new committee. A number of HR and procurement folks are sitting on that committee, and there's obviously in the public sector with endorsing a particular contractor, we got to be very careful not to show partiality. So the committee has a pretty good task on its hands. The other, I guess.
Commissioner, you said, I don't know if you used the word fees. That's been locked or been the same for many, many years. Are you referring to the county's contributions?
Each county pays a participant fee to be a member of MACO for the legislative agenda and the various things it brings back to each community.
And through your committee, the newly formed committee, you all will try to come up with
No, this is more or less the corporate business participation, the outside non-dues revenue sources, which is a big portion of MACO's annual budget, which is helping to keep the individual counties at a stable,
Thank you.
The other thing, Sunday afternoon, our local Museum of Fine Arts had an award ceremony. There's art participation by local artists, both Washington and Frederick counties. It's the whole display at the museum currently is set up for that art show, if you will. And there was awards that were handed out on Sunday afternoon, had a very fine reception in the new atrium, and it was quite an event, and just a lot of folks from our area were there and participated. The other thing, I think we've already talked about it here a little bit this morning. We received communications from Peter Francho, our Comptroller's office, to support an initiative he's looking at, and I think we're going to discuss it as commissioners and maybe give a letter of support. So if we can do that at some point and get back to Emily, I think that would be great. I talked to her personally yesterday and told her we'd be talking about that. So other than that should be about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. For myself, I did have the opportunity to attend the Smithsburg Fire Rescue Banquet Saturday evening. What a wonderful evening that was up at South Mountain. And wanted to thank them for the continued service to our Washington County community. Also, he left. I wanted to ask him a question. Over at Williamsport the other night, maybe the commissioners can remember, they were talking about that piece of property there at the Miller Lumber Company. Did they say that they'd already put a contract on that, or have they provided some money to?
They have a
Yeah.
Now, again, my question is, the money that they use to hold the property, is that refundable?
I know the money goes towards the purchase price. I believe it's $5,000 a month, and I'm not sure if that's a federal or a state grant. But
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know. I was just kind of curious on
if I'm selling a piece of property and I'm considering it sold,
that.
and you're giving me so much a month to, as a retainer or to hold that property, and then I back out, I don't know if I'm going to give you your money back.
I'd just be curious to know if it's refundable or not. I thought I heard more than $5,000.
I believe the library and Williamsport have asked for a meeting, and we've subscribed to a meeting with that regarding that request. So I would anticipate they'd bring forward more details with that request.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes my report. Any other reports from commissioners? Okay, reports from county staff. We have any staff here today care to provide a report? Yes, sir.
One real quick item. You have an item on your agenda for later on this morning at 10:45. It's consideration of the rezoning application at Downsville Pike. That is going to be pulled from the agenda for today and rescheduled at a later date. The applicant asked to have it because they could not attend this morning. So just wanted to let you know as soon as I could that you won't be needing to have that discussion this morning.
Thank you. Okay, let's move back up to the approval of the February 6th minutes. We're going to need a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second for the approval of the February 6th minutes. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 4-0. Thank you. Okay, back to reports from county staff. We have any other staff in the chambers here today care to provide a report? Okay, we have any staff along the front line here care to provide? County administrator report.
I do, President Baker. Request here to the county commissioners to endorse the application of grant funding for the purchase of a piece of property by the Dolman Black Heritage Museum. And that property is in Hagerstown. It is at 170 West Washington Street, or 465 Pennsylvania Avenue, to establish permanent location for a 4,500-piece collection of artifacts and documents dating from pre-Civil War to post-Civil War rights within Hagerstown. Now, you will not be meeting next week, so rather than postpone this or potentially delay this, the city of Hagerstown, I've asked for their position on this, as it is in the city. They will be voting on this later today. So it's simply a letter that supports the application for request for grant funding. And it's drafted here for you, President Baker. And if you'd like, I'll keep this aside until we've determined that the city approves that, their support as well.
So it's two pieces of property, they're gonna buy one or the other?
They have, yes, they have one or the other here, listed here, to establish the location. So, and that's, from what I understand, the city will be taking this under consideration today for their support as well. So before presenting this to you formally or getting the city's concurrence, I will hold this if it's okay with you until they approve. Okay.
Okay, anything else?
If I could reserve a couple moments to come back perhaps to address Commissioner Barr's request regarding Comptroller's request. We can establish that. I'm not quite ready to go into that discussion at this moment, so perhaps we could address something else first while I prepare for this.
So you'll be bringing that back?
I'll bring this back to you in staff comment if we can return to that later.
Okay.
Thank you.
And my apologies, I actually forgot in our prayer this morning. Barbara Wetzel's husband passed away in Boonesboro, and just, I don't know if the commissioners saw that. I know the funeral was yesterday, so our hearts and our prayers go out to the Wetzel family in Boonesboro. Bob was a former town councilman, and of course, his wife, Barb, is currently on the Boonesboro Town Council, so I think we should have been acknowledged here this morning, and my apologies.
Okay, we had some staff just come in. Do you have any reports? Are you here for later information? Okay, thank you. Okay, boards and commissions? Do we have any boards or commissions? Okay, citizens' participation. We have any citizens here today care to participate? If you do, just come forward and give us your name, address, and what you want us to know. Okay, so we don't have any citizens' participation. Okay, Brooks L. and Catherine L. Long Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program, Mr. Boggs.
Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Fantastic. How are you? All right. This is another Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program easement project. It's the Brooks and Catherine Long. You might know it better as the Long Delight Farm. It was probably recall it was the 2016 Washington County Farm of the Year. They've gone ahead and made application to put a CREP easement on the property. They have a current CREP contract over just under an acre, and through the easement program, they can put an easement over that and match. Basically, the easement itself is going to be in total 20 acres of stream buffer and pasture land on the back side of their farm there. It's at 16140 Spielman Road. It's going to protect about 0.83 acres of forest and 19.17 acres of pasture land, and buffer 632 feet of a Potomac River tributary that runs across the property. It's just south of the town of Williamsport there on Spielman Road, and it's inside of a large block of other preserved land. They will be sacrificing one of their 7 development rights with this easement. We started the CREP program in 2010, and up to this point, we've been approved to and funded for 840 total acres and counting. This is a program in which you have to get into a 15-year CREP contract initially, and then you can piggyback the easement off of that. This is all funded by DNR, mostly program open space funding. The easements themselves are not a traditional grant. They are funded on a project-by-project basis. If we decide, or they're 100% state dollars, including a admin fee of 3% that we collect and a 1.5% compliance cost value as well, and additionally all incidental costs like title work, surveys, they are all paid for by the state as well. Further, If we reject to fund the easement, the funds will be allocated to other counties. Outside of that, it's a pretty straightforward CREP easement, 20 acres even. The recommended motion is to approve the long CREP easement for $48,084 on 20 easement acres. Any questions?
Okay, any questions, Commissioners? If none, we'll need a motion to approve as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion, a second for the recommended motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Intergovernmental cooperative purchase of 2 vehicles for public works / parks and facilities. Ms. Noggle. Mr. Panisi. How are you two this morning?
The first item I have for recommendation this morning is the intergovernmental cooperative purchase for 2 2018 Ford F-350s extended cabs for parks and facilities. I move to authorize by resolution for the Parks Department the purchase of 2 2018 F-350 Ford extended cabs from Heritage Fleet out of Milford, Delaware. The cost of these vehicles is $39,150 each, totaling $78,300. We will be using the State of Maryland contract for light-duty vehicles, light-duty trucks. That was approved by Maryland Department of General Services. The Code of Public Law of Washington County provides that the Board of County Commissioners may procure goods and services through this contract, which was from another governmental entity in accordance with the terms of the contract, even though the county was not an original party on this contract. The county will benefit directly with the cost savings of this service because of the economies of scale set forth in this buying group. I'm confident that even a bid that was solicited through the county would not give us the savings that we're getting on this contract. The funds were budgeted in Parks and Facilities Capital Improvement budget in the amount of $101,658.
Okay, any questions, Commissioners? If none, motion to approve is presented.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Intergovernmental cooperative purchase of 2 police interceptor utility vehicles for emergency services. Ms. Noggle, Mr. Hayes, Mr. Brown. How are you three this morning?
Doing well.
Good.
My second recommendation this morning is for another intergovernmental purchase. This is for 2 2018 Ford Police Interceptor utility vehicles for Division of Emergency Services. I move to authorize by resolution the purchase of these 2 vehicles to a Heritage Fleet out of Milford, Delaware. Each vehicle costing $28,947, totaling $57,894. Again, we're using a State of Maryland contract, which was approved by the Maryland Department of General Services for vans and SUVs. Again, as stated in my prior recommendation, the Code of Public Laws does allow Washington County to procure through this contract. Funds were allocated through the Division of Emergency Services through a grant in the amount of $81,292.
Okay, any questions, Commissioners? If none, motion to approve is presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 3-0. Thank you. Okay, contract award, sole source procurement technical service support agreement for emergency services and health and human services. Ms. Noggle, Mr. Hayes, Mr. Overcash. And how are you all this morning?
My last recommendation for today is the sole source procurement for technical services support agreement for the Department of Emergency Service and Health and Human Services. I authorized the Division of recommendation to authorize the Division of Emergency Services and Human Resources to enter into a service agreement with Physio Controls out of Redmond, Washington for the remaining duration of the contract, which expires July 1st, 2020. The agreement covers various types of the defibrillators that were purchased in the past utilizing the State of Maryland contract awarded to Physio Controls. The agreement provides on-site maintenance, which includes repair parts, materials, a service technician, labor, and travel expenses. Each defibrillator listed within the agreement will be scheduled for inspection, which includes the calibration, verification that the equipment is operating properly, and the output measurements are checked to ensure that the equipment is within specification. If a unit fails upon this testing, it is pulled out of service and a loaner is put in. Each repair and inspection, Physio will provide a written report of their action for recommendation for the replacement or repair of that. The operating budgets were allocated, funds were allocated in their operating budgets for the Emergency Services Department and Human Resources to cover these expenses.
Okay, any questions, Commissioners? If none, a motion to move forward as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
You all have a good day. Okay, Appalachian Regional Commission grant for county website enhancements. Ms. Buchanan, Ms. Poe, how are you two this morning?
How are you doing?
Good.
Good morning. I'm Susan Buchanan, Director, Office of Grant Management. Along with me today is Lauren Pig, Marketing Specialist, Department of Public Relations and Marketing. We're here this morning requesting a motion to approve the submission of the grant application for county website enhancements to the Appalachian Regional Commission in the amount of $37,500 and accept funding as awarded. We are also requesting approval to utilize hotel rental tax funds in an equal amount to that award, $37,500, as they match as required by the program. Washington County's Department of Public Relations and Marketing has recently received approval to contract with a vendor to rebuild the county website, www.washco-maryland.net. Within this project, the Public Relations and Marketing Department would like to create a sub-website for our parks and facilities and recreation pages to increase tourism traffic to our community as well as revenue at an online store. The website will encourage visitors to the community's numerous parks, including those along the Appalachian Trail, as well as participating in kayaking activities in Devil's Backbone or playing golf at Black Rock Golf Course. The site will also promote various Washington County branded merchandise, such as water bottles, golf balls, shirts, etc. In addition to promoting the various recreational activities available within the county, the website will be an economic development tool. When potential businesses and site selection companies look at a community, one of the first things they do is look at the website to determine the quality of life in the community. This website will boost that visitation as with the attractive, interactive nature of it. And having such a site will also boost visitors to the site and the search engine optimization associated with it. One of the Appalachian Regional Commission's goals is to assist communities with utilizing existing natural assets to boost local and regional economic opportunities. This project is consistent with that goal. The Office of Community Grant Management has reviewed the grant application, the grant guidelines, and the budget. There is a 50-50 matching requirement, and the matching funds of $37,500 will be utilized from hotel rental tax funds. Any questions regarding that, or would you like to address Lauren about any of the specifics about the website?
Any questions, Commissioners? If none, motion to approve as recommended.
So moved.
Motion second for the approval of recommended motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Lauren.
Okay, Construction bid award, pavement maintenance and rehabilitation program for fiscal year 2018. Mr. Hobbs. Good morning.
Good morning. Scott Hobbs, Director of Engineering. And I'm here to recommend that the board award the bid for the pavement maintenance program, PMP FY18 hot mix asphalt applications contract to the lowest responsible bidder, Craig Paving of Hagerstown, in the amount of $2,792,743, which includes the option to extend the contract for a period of up to 2 one-year extensions. The project was advertised in the Herald Mail, on the county's website, and an email marketplace, and the 2 bids were received that were below the engineer's estimate. This is a pavement maintenance contract that involves hot mix overlays, patching, crack filling, and permanent pavement markings. Approximately 19 miles of paving applications will be performed. The work includes a 185 calendar day contract with a notice proceed on or about April 9th and a completion date of around October 10th, 2018. The bid documents include liquidated damages in the amount of $500 per calendar day and for work beyond the completion date, and an option again to extend the contract for additional years. Public notices will be made prior to the project. Road signs will be posted, and the road list will be posted on the county's website. This is a budgeted capital improvement project and within the current budget. Upon review of the roads through our pavement condition survey and our visual inspections, these are the most cost-effective and practical alternative to repair the roads. Roads are substandard, need of repairs to extend their service life. So with that, if there's any questions.
Just a comment. Same old, the loss of our highway user revenues. We continue to complain about that, and I just did the math. We have 850 miles of county roads in Washington County, and if you divide it by 19, it's 45 years till that road gets looked at again. It just, it is ridiculous, Commissioner Myers, and we can't say enough to our delegation and our powers to be in Annapolis. It is ridiculous, and until someone restores highway user revenues, we as commissioners just keep getting barrage of complaints from our.
How do they get restored? Everybody you talk to in the delegation, they say they're for restoring them. So if everybody that's elected is for restoring the funds, how do they not get restored? I don't know.
It's, I'm sure they have their hands full trying to balance the state of Maryland budget, but, for 70 years, each community, each county got their share and their portion. In 2009, that was stripped, and we've not seen a complete.
Keep in mind, a lot of state roads run through these municipalities and counties that are being attended to, such as Clear Spring. Okay, so that's state highway money, and as long as it's kept in the state, it's kind of up to the governor or to that. I think don't they have a process down there where they have a value of what's important and what's not, as far as so they get through all that process. It's whoever gets that money. And,
Yeah, that process is being refined. It used to be our transportation priority letter. That's still part of the process. Scott's working on that process for our projects. It's changing a little bit. There was a law that was passed, but has been rescinded, which would have virtually eliminated projects in more of the rural areas. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, that won't go into effect immediately, but some provisions of that are still intact, so there will be a grading system.
Citizens really have 2 reasons to be mad. Not only are their local roads not getting repaired, but they're still paying a tax at the pump when they fill up their car with gas that's intended to go towards repairing the roads, but it's not.
Mr. O'Malley took all that away, and if you look at the dollars they took away when things started getting crunched back in 2011.
That's when we first lost it.
Yeah, 11. If you look at that dollars, then that was sent to Baltimore City, and in lieu of, we used to get like 25% roughly, and now we get probably 5 if we get that.
Yeah, if that.
So I think the governor has done a good job of trying to give a lot of your municipalities some money versus the counties. I mean, they've got a much more than their fair share, I should say. But
And we saw the town of Williamsport may be headed to the White House to discuss infrastructure issues at the national level, so maybe that could yield something too.
yes,
One comment I do have, I've received a couple calls about Pennsylvania Avenue and Hancock. It seems like what we are going to repave Grove Circle to the church entrance. Not exactly sure which entrance we're talking about. There's two for that church. But then there's maybe a 0.2 of a mile or a quarter mile to the Pennsylvania line that will be chip sealed. I'm just wondering, cost-wise, since the equipment will be there already for asphalt, does it make sense to mill and overlay or chip seal that last section? And it's kind of a shame you go from a nice paved road in Maryland, you have that little stretch, couple 100 yards, and then you go into Pennsylvania and it's paved again. What's the possible solutions we could look into for that?
So we have discussed it in the past, and I think we can look at the cost of doing that. And I think you bring up a good point as far as mobilization, is what the contractor calls it for the project. And Scott and I, we can look at it at staff level and see if there might be a opportunity to pave that small portion. How do you recall how long that is,
Yeah,
Scott?
so it's just over a half mile for the section we're proposing today. Again, from Grove Circle up to the southern entrance of the church, which is their main entrance. And that's about 0.6 miles, 0.65 miles. And then from there, it's another half a mile to the line. And that's where there's a significant drop off in the annual daily traffic, the traffic volumes from that point. So we've recognized that in the work that we're proposing. And then from there, again, we were in conversations with the town about some proposing. The town, again, has land on both sides that they've annexed over the years. The road remained with the county, so we're, again, evaluating the costs involved, working with the town if there's something that can be done there to even pave the road and turn the road over. So that's something that'll be discussed for future. But we've, again, looked at the volumes, looked at the condition of the road, and looked at our budget. And as Commissioner Barr just commented on, we have a tight budget. So at this point in time, we found that we can find money to pave that first section, and then the proposal was to chip seal the remainder. I'll be coming back in a few weeks. We're going to have bid opening here just in the next week or so on the chip seal application. We had plans to chip seal that second half of the road at Pennsylvania Avenue. So again, further discussions may be involved with that to continue the HMA, but at this point in time, we've proposed the most economical solution for trying to meet our 850 miles of road pavement maintenance program.
I'd just like to
That's
see
it.
what the cost difference might be, because I have to explain to a lot of people.
Sure.
Why
We're in the
doing
range
what
of
we're
about
doing.
4 to 5 times as expensive for HMA, hot mix asphalt, over chip seal application. So we've kind of fallen in that range, but I'll share some
what
of
is
the
the
numbers
cost?
with
I
you.
mean, you've done enough of this. I mean, per mile or
Yeah, typically a lot of it's done in square yardage that we do. So down to the square yardage, we look in the $3.50, $4 a square yard for that type of chip seal application, again, which is a stone and an emulsion type application. When you get to patching, and it really becomes down to patching and overlays, but the patching, if it's, say it's a straightforward patch and an overlay of a road of a hot mix asphalt application, an overlay, we're talking in the $10, $12, $15 range sometimes.
4 times the cost.
Yeah, depending on, again, how critical the patch is, because typically, again, you're going to see larger volumes, and the conditions of the road with the larger volumes typically need better treatment, need thicker pavement roads, better foundations, the stone of the foundation of the road. So it's those type of things that we're dealing with. A main part of a road is make sure you keep the water out. So part of this project is crack filling, which is a big part of it. And a lot of that goes unknown, but to crack fill a road and keep those cracks sealed is a big important application to move the projects forward and keep the extension of the life of the roads.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions? We need a motion to approve the recommended motion to move forward.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoff.
Just for the record, now we get about HUR, we get about 400,000 to 500,000, not rather than 5 million. So we've lost.
That again?
At the high point, we were up to about $11 million in HUR, and we ranged from 7 to 11. Now we're at, I think last year we were at 480, something like that. Yeah, 1,000.
Half a million versus
Yeah.
11 million. That's
95.
So,
a little bit of difference there.
and when we first took on this program, without the chip seal, it should be known that we're looking at life cycle costs of about 80 years. You get out to approach every road about 80 years. So we introduced this program, which is not ideal, but it does help. So that's reduced us down to 30 to 40 years life cycle.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, commissioners? Okay, a motion to go into closed session for.
President Baker, I can come back to speak to this Comptroller's staff comments now if you'd like, if it suits the board. Okay, so the request from the Comptroller's office is a letter of support, which there was already a draft letter. I don't have that in front of me, I apologize. But the Comptroller states here that, as you may know, I introduced House Bill 518, the Reform Act on TAP Act of 2018, and that is, in essence, there's a few bullet items here that I'd like to share with you that gives some context to what that bill is. And those are, removes all limits on beer production, taproom sales, and take-home sales, repeals the buyback provisions that requires brewers to purchase their beer from distributors at a marked up cost if they exceed 2,000 barrel limit on taproom sales, lifts unnecessary restrictions for take-home sales, guarantees the issuance of Class B or D licenses to microbreweries upon request, lets local jurisdictions set guidelines for taproom operating hours, allows smaller brewers to self-distribute, eliminates franchise law requirements, and removes restrictions on contract brewing that inhibits startup business. One of the things in our business ambassadors, we visited Antietam Brewery, and I think Cushwa is in the same category. They were very much in favor of this, the Comptroller, and the Comptroller, in fact, visited Antietam in late 2017 and found a great deal of support for what I believe is this bill. So if it suits the board and the president, we will get this drafted on county letterhead.
What's this bill floating around the assembly this year about craft beer? Anybody heard about that?
Well,
Craft beers.
that very well could be this because.
No, it was in opposition to that. That's
okay.
It was something that going through economic matters. I'm trying to think who proposed it, but we can get into that. But if our locals support this, I'm fine with supporting the Comptroller.
All the commissioners okay with supporting Comptroller franchise? Yep.
Okay. So we'll get that drafted on the board's letterhead for your
I
signature.
asked Commissioner Barr to check with Mako also, make sure we're not. I'm sure that they are in favor, but
Yeah, I'll check tomorrow.
Okay. We will hold that and have it available for signature and execution. Yep.
Anything else?
When's that bill go in?
There's a hearing on it Friday. Is it this Friday? Either this Friday or next Friday.
Well, I mean, it would be
They
important
want-
for us to have this done and in the Comptroller's hand for testimony.
Yes, Friday, February 23.
Next Friday, okay. I was
Well, we
looking
don't
for,
meet next week, though. If
Right.
we have to get in here and sign it, or unless we just have President Baker's signature.
I was looking for Emily's email.
That'd probably be enough.
What I would request, and John can correct me if I'm out of line here, what I would request is that if it's vetted as requested by Commissioner Myers with Mako or Commissioner Barr, is that we continue to proceed to draft this letter for the president's signature unless we hear otherwise.
You can probably find out before we get out of here today.
Yeah.
What I'm thinking is just get it done.
Like in cold down there.
Yeah.